Welcome in, ladies and gentlemen, here to Sports Time HQ. I'm your host for now. Joined with me today is my great co-host, Gary. Gary, how you doing?
Pretty good, Freddie. How about you?
I'm good. Were you hearing the background? Oh, I know what's happening. I know exactly what's happening. I was going live on Instagram as well. That's why I was hearing myself multiple times. I'm like, why am I hearing myself multiple times? But we're here. Keith is not here with us this week, but of course we got ourselves Gary, and the Thursday Night Football Masterclass, Gary, of course.
I mean, I just can't nail a total, I guess.
Gary, how are you doing with your Browns too?
I mean, I've completely given up hope. I'm actually I root for them to lose every week now because I'm a higher pick. So, thank for sure. Thank for sure.
Well, we got wow. Okay, Shedeur Sanders.
Yes, sir.
So you're completely out on Watson.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, that was not even in question anymore. I mean, although I agree, I've been saying this entire season that the blame is way out of proportion on what he's to blame of, because I think the entire team is just trash. But at the same time, I mean, yeah, no matter what, he hasn't really shown us a bright spot. So I'm pretty sure, I'm almost 100% sure next year is his last year on the deal. So get a quarterback. I want either Milroe or Shedeur. And
Jalen Milroe is the Alabama guy, no?
Yep. Ride one of them, and I think they're both studs. I love what I see in their situations. I think they're great prospects.
I'm intrigued to see what's going to happen and who they go to, because obviously they were one that I wanted the Patriots to take, but they decided to go for Drake May, who didn't look that bad.
No, I liked what I saw in him, honestly. Obviously, that first pick
I was shocked.
That first pick was worrisome, but then he came back and delivered 3 touchdowns, so definitely nothing to be upset about. Listen, I'm rooting for him. Like, I mean, I said that I don't really think this draft class in terms of quarterbacks is going to be that great. I would love to be proved wrong, because I think right now we're in the era where like all the stars that we grew up watching are retiring. So it's either the people that are good are guys that you feel like you wouldn't really expect to see do good. And even if they are, quote unquote, doing like the best in the league, it's kind of mediocre in terms of what you're used to seeing, I guess. So I think in the next 3 years, if these guys start to play, pretty good, then we have our new generation of stars coming in.
Yeah, I mean, I really think this class actually hasn't been bad. I mean, we got to see Spencer Rattler too. He was all right. I wouldn't say he was the greatest, but he was doing. He faced. It was a tough matchup. I mean, the Bucs are a high scoring offense, and that was just a crazy game. I think it was almost 80 points total combined.
Yeah, it was 78.
Yeah. So, let's get into some news and notes around the league. Gary, I think we have a very interesting topic that we're going to be talking about. Not just yet, but I know you really want to talk about it, I'm sure.
I really do.
You already put it in the notes, so that was really funny. But last week of the London games, it is the Patriots versus the Jaguars. And Gary, did you put the Jaguars suck in the notes?
I didn't.
Or was that Keith?
No, it's probably Keith. I didn't. But I picked the Pats to win. I'm taking the Pats to win. I really am. I'm taking the Pats to win. I think the Jags are just totally.
We're gonna see Mac Jones.
Totally done.
We're gonna see Mac Jones.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. That would be a funny game just to see Mac Jones go up against his former squad. I would love that. But no, I think Drake May is going to actually shine. I think he's going to do really good, because that Jaguars defense is abysmal. So I picked the Pats to win this one.
It was bad. It was like, I mean, obviously I was there. I got to watch it, and just seeing Trevor Lawrence struggle. I mean, it was great to see, because I really don't like him, but and I never thought he was worth the money. But I mean, overall, he needs some work. I mean, Doug Peterson needs to go. He needs to get fired. Why is he not fired? That's a big question that I still would like to know. But I think they're going to fire him after this week. But yeah, you got to experience a little London game too. No,
Yeah.
we called.
That was cool. I definitely got experience of what it was like. Obviously, not as much as you, but yeah, that was definitely cool to see. I would love to go to an international game one time. Of course, it's definitely money and time to be able to do that travel. But yeah, that was definitely cool to see. Sucks that you probably saw one of the worst games of the year. But,
no, it wasn't bad. It was not bad. I saw the Jaguars suck, but Caleb Williams did really good.
No, that's definitely for sure true. I actually really liked what I saw out of him, and I think if you've been watching the Bears recently, Caleb Williams has been at the top of his game recently.
Yeah,
balling. So I'm very intrigued to see how that continues to go forward.
Yeah, I mean, here's a little picture. Let's see if it goes up. Oh, it does go up on the screen. How nice! Look how nice the stadium looks. The stadium's so nice. It was built in 2019, and of course, I got to show you the merch that I got because I did get merch. So I'm wearing the sweatshirt. London Games got all the teams.
All teams that play.
It was expensive but really nice. I got a T-shirt. Let's see the T-shirt. London.
Oh, that's fine. Newspaper.
This one.
Yeah, it's got that newspaper font.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool.
And it's got where the stadium was, the team that I got to watch. There is no back to it. I actually was hoping that would be on the back because on the sweatshirt that had that same design, that was on the back, and it was just like London Games here. And I would have enjoyed it.
Yeah.
But it was still a really nice shirt overall. Here's less exciting, but really still cool. So this was the kind of memorabilia that they gave, the official program. But here's what's cool about it. So what's cool about it is if you open this is like I'm in like a little kids class. Today we're reading this. But if you look, it was the last week's game that they put on there. So it's so up to date. Like this was printed literally in that week, in a span of a week after the Jets and the Vikings played. They had that. It was only £10, which I mean, it was still a little pricey, but anyways, we don't need to talk about the price. I think I got a little lanyard, so I'm trying to collect lanyards from every team possible. It's just a simple 2024 London Games. Can't go wrong with it. This was a little pricey still. Little key ring for it. London 2024. It would have been really cool if it had like. Say I had this, and maybe on the back I had the team.
Yeah.
That I went to.
Yeah.
But of course, it didn't happen. This has my flannel in it, but a little NFL bag.
Oh, nice. That's cool.
So I needed to carry them all. I mean, there was so much things that I bought. And then lastly, lastly, I got a little mint coin collection.
Oh, that's cool.
Was it expensive? Yes.
Yeah, of course.
But it's really cool. So like they have the Jaguars, Bears, Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, the date, if I can point to the correct side. And then on the coin it has the Jacksonville Jaguars versus Chicago Bears, the date as well with the London logo. And then you go on the back and it's got some things about the teams. Can't really see the Jaguars on the top over here, but on the back, it also has a coin saying the National Football League and everything.
That is really cool.
Pretty cool. Comes with a little stand, too, on the bottom. Pretty cool. But that's my little tour. For anyone who wants to know how much, it was about 200 pounds. So it was maybe like $220 US. It was a little on the pricey side, but
right. That's what I'm saying when I say, going to an international game is definitely on the pricey side. I mean, that's just obvious. But it is a great experience. I'm sure you had a great time. And
oh my God, it was so fun. So fun. And you know how back in America, United States, you kick everyone out. As soon as the game done, you're told to leave.
Yeah.
They had the food stands and everything still open.
Really?
Like you could just go there and chill at the stadium and just relax. And they weren't like making people get out as quick as possible. So one of the things I will say that they need to work on is transportation. The train system was horrendous. I was there waiting in line for about 45 minutes to an hour.
Jeez.
Because they didn't add extra trains.
Wow, that's rough.
So, yeah, it was a little rough. But anyways, let's get into the biggest news of the day. Gary, do you want to lead it off? Because I know you want to lead it off.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just so thrilled to finally watch this duo back in action. Davante Adams going to the Jets in a trade. Raiders send over a conditional third-round pick. Could become a second-rounder based on Davante Adams' performance. I don't know if there are clearer information to that regard, but I am just so happy at this news. Rodgers and Davante Adams were my favorite duo growing up as a kid watching football. So I can't wait to watch him back in action.
I'm excited. I'm intrigued on it as well. I mean, we kind of already knew that Davante Adams was going to go there. It was just a matter of when and what week, because we knew that Aaron Rodgers has been struggling. And we talked about it last week, but I don't know if you saw Aaron Rodgers talking about the game-sealing interception against the Bills. He, in quotes, Mike Williams is down the red line, ... So I'm throwing a no look to the red line. And when I peek my eyes back there, Williams is running an in-breaker. He's got to be on the red line. It's the little things every single time. So Aaron Rodgers was frustrated, told the team, listen, go get Davante Adams. And the team didn't really pay that much for Davante Adams. And now you have Davante Adams, Garrett Wilson, Alan Lazard. I've been a Lazard fan this whole season. Unfortunately, I think Lazard's season is officially done. But don't be surprised if he does still have those boom-bust weeks. I think that's still going to happen. My biggest concern is Garrett Wilson's production and what it's going to look like now moving forward. I don't know, Gary, do you think are you still starting him as your wide receiver one now?
I would definitely be looking at wide receivers on the trading block in your leagues. But in terms of real game scenario, I mean, I absolutely love the thought of Garrett Wilson as a wide receiver too. I mean, just going up against those secondary DBs and, probably playing the slot a lot more often. I just think he's going to flourish. The offense is going to be so much more fluid. They have one of the best receivers in the game in Davante Adams. I mean, I can't wait to watch him. I know a lot of people have completely lost their hope on the Jets. I was one of them. I was literally saying yesterday before their game to my roommate that this Jets team is boring. Like, they just look boring. They haven't been what everybody thought they were going to be. Now this changes things. It really does for me. I think that, the AFC wild card right now is wide open. You look at it, you got Pittsburgh, the Chargers, and I forget the last team that's there. But
right. Patriots are in the mix now.
Yeah, right. I would love if the Browns were, but no, we're both 1-5. Our seasons are done.
Let's just mention real quick that Browns, Patriots, and the Panthers have the top 3 picks right now in the draft.
Let's go. Can't wait for that draft. Can't come sooner. April can't come any sooner. But I mean, I think the AFC wildcard is wide open. The Jets are only behind by a game. So I think that they could still finish with 9 to 10 wins, and that might be enough. The AFC is really not as good as people thought it was going to be this year. I think the Jets definitely have what it takes to get in there because the defense is still loaded no matter what.
Yeah, I mean, I'm intrigued. I'm intrigued to see how. I don't know. I think the Jets. After seeing how bad the Jets were, we just know that there needs to be something changed. And having that, I mean, having Davante Adams now, I think I'm starting Garrett Wilson as a wide receiver too, and I think I'm starting Davante Adams as a wide receiver too. I think now there's going to be too many mouths to feed, and now we're going to be in the process of who's going to have the better week. And Garrett, are you starting both of them if you have them on your lineups?
That's a great question. I actually didn't even think about that. Wow. It definitely is a tricky situation. I probably wouldn't. I would trade Garrett Wilson.
Really?
I mean, I'm all in on Devontae. You know that. I don't think it's
Right.
gonna. I don't think I mean, like I said, in terms of real game scenario, I think Garrett Wilson's going to be such a good guy to have as your wide receiver too in the slot as the Jets. Fantasy wise, I don't really know how he's going to do. He'll probably get like 20 points every couple weeks. But the weeks that he doesn't, I don't know how he's going to do. I think Devontae Adams is going to be the guy that still can get 15 plus points a week. I think he's going to be a good wide receiver one. So I can't get myself to say that I would trade Devontae Adams or not have confidence starting him, because I think that connection with him and Rodgers is still going to be there.
Okay. I think I don't know. I think the amount of draft capital you spend on Garrett Wilson, you're going to have to start him either way.
Yeah, probably.
I think for now I'm starting both. I think for now I'm going to start both, and then we'll see. We'll see after this week what happens. I think Lazard is a clear-cut bench guy right now. I wouldn't drop him. I would just keep him on the bench for now. See what happens this upcoming week. Because who knows? It could be Devontae Adams and Lazard who have had that connection in the past with Rodgers. And now Garrett Wilson's the guy that goes down. Yeah. Garrett Wilson's the guy you need to trade, I think.
Yeah, I mean, there's two ways of thinking, I feel like, because I think that there's definitely a chance where, Rodgers throws – he'll throw 30 times a game, whatever. Half those targets go to Devontae, half those targets go to Garrett Wilson. I mean, there are going to be games like that where, like, there are two top guys that get 90% of the targets, and I wouldn't be surprised if, there are games where Lazard ends up getting those 15 targets and the other two guys get, like, 7 or 8. So it's just I feel like an unpredictable moment right now, but I think a week or two going forward, we'll be able to say that Devontae Adams is the guy that's going to be getting numerous amounts of targets and good weeks for fantasy.
Yeah. It's going to be just an interesting thing that we're going to have to see now moving forward, especially because if teams are struggling and you're like 2-3, 2-4, stuff like that, you're going to need to be in win now and start trading and going to get your guys in fantasy. Let's go into some other news. Mike McDaniel says he expects Tua to play again in 2024.
That's crazy to me. I didn't think he would take the field again once I saw him take that hit. Almost Thursday Night Football.
That is the greatest reaction.
I mean, I don't know. I feel like he's done. I don't understand how someone can not care about their health that much, I guess. Obviously, I love sports. You love sports. I'm sure Tua Tagovailoa loves sports. But you made your money already. I mean, is there so much of a point for you to go out and feel that you need to prove yourself to where you could potentially put the rest of your life at risk? I mean, I don't know. I wouldn't do it. I think it's tough to think about, honestly.
Here's my question. As of right now, is Tua Tagovailoa a Hall of Famer if he were to retire right now?
No.
Okay. I agree with you. But say he does come back this season. Somehow Miami has the most miraculous comeback. They go to the playoffs. They win the Super Bowl. Then he retires. Now the question is, he's got one Super Bowl ring. Is he a Hall of Famer?
No.
Okay. No. That's all I want. I don't think so either. I just think injuries have just held him up, but he's been a star-studded player when he's healthy.
Yeah, I mean, he definitely makes that Dolphins offense what it is, whether you hate Tua Tagovailoa or not. You have to admit that the offense looks completely out of whack with him not being the quarterback. Because I remember last year they were, number 1 in both points per game and total yards per game. Now they're dead last in both, or close to dead last in both. So, I mean, it's just sad to see. But I think it's a scary situation if you're sending Tua Tagovailoa back out there.
Okay. I think you're just asking for something really, really bad to happen. Right. I mean, hopefully not, and hopefully it's not like a DeMar Hamlin type of experience that happens, but now you're putting Tua really at risk for anything. Like anything's possible.
Exactly.
We'll go kind of finishing up with the bye weeks. Bears, Cowboys. They're the two teams on the bye weeks. Bears, of course, getting the bye week because they're after the London games. You've been seeing that happen this past couple of weeks with the teams going on bye weeks after London games. I mean, it makes sense with the time difference and all. But the Cowboys very much need a bye week after getting blown out in their home stadium on Jerry Jones's birthday and getting booed at their home stadium. So
I don't know how you can't boo them after that performance. I mean, that was pretty bad.
It's terrible.
Prayers up to Aiden Hutchinson because I know Lions lost him probably for the remainder of the season if that hasn't been announced already. That leg injury was gruesome, so we do not have to continue to talk about it. But yeah, that game was just terrible for the Cowboys. I watched the entire thing and I was just like, are they ever going to score a touchdown? Because I feel like they had numerous opportunities. You talk about one point in the game, they were down 28 or whatever it was, and then they finally had a good drive going, and they fumbled the 25 of Lions 25. So it was just a drive killer, game killer, and any thought at a possible comeback ended right there. And the defense, I mean, they didn't help either.
So, and we'll move right into the injuries now. Aiden Hutchinson, brutal injury. What does this mean for the Lions? I mean, they obviously beat the Cowboys tremendously, which I mean, I was at this little pub area watching the game for the first half, and I was like, oh, you know what? They have the NFL game. I'll watch it because I didn't expect pubs in London to have NFL games on, but they did, and I was watching it. I left at halftime. I said, this game's ridiculous. I'm gone. Bye. Like, I'll go back to my hostel. But Aiden Hutchinson, now it is confirmed that he's projected to miss the remainder of the season. They do want to try and get him back for the playoffs, but that's a really tough task for him. I mean, everything would just have to be so perfect. I could see him maybe if he comes back the earliest, maybe NFC Championship, if not Super Bowl, and that's a big if still.
I was gonna say if they make the Super Bowl, then it's definitely a chance that he could, but I don't really see it. If you saw that leg injury, that was just
terrible. You heard it.
You heard it. Right, you could hear it crack. So I don't think he's gonna be back. Even if they do make the Super Bowl, I don't think he'll be back. I don't think they'll rush him, especially because that's the thing. If you want him to come back, you need to make the Super Bowl first off, because if you don't, then there's no reason to have him back. But obviously, it puts stress on the rest of the D-line to continue their great play, which was supported so much by Aiden Hutchinson. So we'll see how they hold up. Definitely a tough break for the Lions, though, because that defense, the defensive line looked really good. Obviously, it was Aiden Hutchinson that supplied most of it.
Tough thing. I mean, it was brutal to hear and watch. I mean, I was like, wow. Commanders defensive tackle Jonathan Allen out for the season with torn pectoral muscle. This hurts the Commanders because they've actually been doing really good. And then some other ones, the Niners, they've officially opened Ricky Pearsall's practice window after 6 weeks being on the NFI's injured list. So that's exciting. Hopefully seeing him, maybe he'll take over Brandon Ayuk's role, hopefully. And I think that's kind of it. You got anything else?
No, I honestly haven't seen a lot. Obviously, Devontae was just the biggest thing that I wanted to talk about, but it seems that we got some breaking news.
We very much do. Breaking news. Mike Tomlin is looking like he's going to have Russell Wilson expecting to start this Sunday. The heartbreak comes, the thing we never wanted, because we like Justin Fields. This show has been a Justin Fields believer.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely seems to me that the Pittsburgh Steelers don't want to make the playoffs. No, I mean, we'll see what happens. Russell Wilson hasn't played football in a little bit, so we'll see if he can come out of the gate firing. I think you kind of have to see what you get out of Russell Wilson if you're the Steelers, though. You got him for so low, Super Bowl champ. I think he didn't really have that bad of a season with them. He actually played pretty solid with the Broncos last year. So I think you have to see what he can give you. We know that Justin Fields got you to a 4-2 record, and he didn't play bad during that time. So I think you always have that in the back pocket as a Steeler. So
I just want to kind of throw just an odd type of possibility. Devontae Adams going to the Jets. I wonder if Tyler Lockett would go and play with Russell. They were looking for a wide receiver.
Okay.
I mean, Seahawks could give Tyler Lockett. They have DK and Jackson Smith.
That would be cool. I think he would actually do better with Fields. Honestly.
I mean, I'm not saying that Fields or Wilson will do better with Lockett, but I'm saying the connection that we have that we would have.
And I'm agreeing with you that I think that he would obviously make the Steelers better. They do need a wide receiver. That Fields Pickens connection looked pretty solid to start the season, but past couple weeks hasn't really been there. They definitely need another guy in there in that wide receiver room. I wouldn't totally hate it.
Mm-hmm. Okay. All right. Let's go into our quarterback ads of the week. And maybe start with my guy. Week. Sorry, I had to. Let's start with my guy that I want to talk about, which I'm very surprised I'm talking about because this is a team that I never want to have any shares of. But here we are, and I'm talking about two players today from that team. Drake May is my guy for the quarterback position. I mean, the rookies we talked about just earlier have been tremendous rookie quarterbacks. May didn't, again, look that bad. Jacksonville, we know, sucks. And they just gave up 29.6 points to Caleb Williams in London. Now, here's the only difference in London. It is not at Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. It's at the other stadium that they're going to be playing at, which is exciting. I think it's Wembley Stadium, I do believe. So that's going to be exciting. Wish I was at that game to root for my Patriots. But, hey, I mean, Drake May popped off. I think he's the first rookie quarterback in history to start and throw 3 touchdowns in his first game. If I do believe that was a stat that broke. So I'm all in on Drake May for fantasy. I'm not sure if I'm in on him as a Patriot yet, but I mean, we've had those Mac Jones fantasy weeks. Maybe we're going to have the Drake May weeks, but I think right now you have to trust him and you got to go get him.
I like it. Like I told you earlier, I am rooting for Drake May. I definitely liked, for the most part, what I saw last week. And I think he's all in for another pretty solid game against Jacksonville, who has a terrible defense, as you had mentioned. Definitely a guy that I would look into picking up. And, obviously he's nowhere to be found on the waiver wire in dynasty leagues, I would hope. Because, you brought it up. You don't know necessarily if he's a good Patriot yet.
Yeah.
But I think he'll be solid. I think he'll be serviceable. So go get Drake May if, you need a guy that can give you possibility in upside weeks.
Sounds like a plan to me. I'll be going to get him if I need a quarterback. Who is your guy to add this week for the quarterback position?
Yeah, it's a guy that we talked about. One half of my favorite duo of all time, Aaron Rodgers. He just had probably his best game of the year, which isn't saying too much because he hasn't really been great. But he just put up 22 points. He's only 40% rostered, so half the league's out there. Got him on your waiver wire. Do I have to say more? He gets Devontae Adams back. I think the connection is just going to be there. They had it for so long. I don't think they're going to miss a step. So I think he's going to be a guy that returns to, fantasy GOAT status, Aaron Rodgers.
I think it's all right pick. It's not. No. It's actually a good pick, especially after the Devontae Adams news breaking. I mean, this is really good. We've seen Aaron Rodgers thrive in fantasy in the past. Obviously, he doesn't scramble as much, but he's got so many weapons now. I mean, Tyler Conklin is the first guy I'm naming who's not that good, but he's also a good tight end weapon for Rodgers. You got Breece Hall in the backfield. You got Braylon Allen also in the backfield. And then you add the wide receiver core in Devontae Adams, Garrett Wilson, Allen Lazard. That team on paper looks very, very good. Now it's just going to be on, can he translate it to the actual NFL and to beat the teams? Who ironically is facing the Steelers, I do believe, right? They're facing the Steelers, I think. Yep. So who Mike Tomlin just faced Devontae Adams. Now he's got to face him again this upcoming week. So that'll be intriguing. But I like the pick. I actually don't mind Rodgers. I think if you have to, I think he's going to be the biggest hype ad for the quarterback position this week, which makes me think if you do pick him up and he does really do good, very good next week, I trade him.
Yeah.
Personally. I trade him.
Don't hate it.
Keith's pick. Obviously, he's not here, but we're going to just quickly elaborate on Keith's pick. He wants Matthew Stafford to be the ad of the week. Now, he threw 45 times the week before that, and he had 13 fantasy points. Now, he's currently sitting as the QB 29. Reason why he's picking him, I do believe, they're coming off a bye week, and they're facing the Raiders, who give up a lot of fantasy points to quarterbacks. I don't mind it, but he's definitely not a guy I'm searching for and going to add right away.
I agree with you. The reason why I don't hate it is because Kupp is rumored to possibly come back this week, so he could have him to throw to going forward. Nakua is going to come back in the next couple of weeks, so he's going to get all of his guys back. So I don't think it's that bad of a pickup at all.
Which player's coming back? Is it Nakua?
No, Kupp is.
I was going to say
Kupp is practicing this week, and he has a shot at playing.
I don't think he's going to play. I don't think he should play.
I don't think he's going to either, but that's what McVay said. So he's got a shot to play. And then Nakua was.
He's supposed to be coming back very soon. I think another week.
That he's not practicing this week, but he probably will next week. So there's a possibility that he comes back, not this week, but next week. So his guys could be coming back very soon.
Okay. Drake May, Matthew Stafford, Aaron Rodgers, our top quarterback ads of the week. Let's get into our running back ads of the week. Now, there's a guy on the Bills that Gary wants to talk about, and it's a guy that, you talked a lot about his last name last season, but I don't think it's Gabe Davis.
No, it's Ray Davis.
That's the guy.
Yeah, he had 18 points. He had 18 points last night. He's only 18% rostered. This is really just a pick if James Cook is not going to come back, and I think it's possible, or not going to come back relatively soon, which I think is possible because he has turf toe, which a lot of the time lingers. So if he does miss additional time, and even if he doesn't, I don't think he'll get his full workload in. Ray Davis is a guy that you have to get because he just ran for almost 100 yards on the Jets defense and had, I think, 3 catches for 55 yards as well. So he's a guy that gets yards at a high rate. And if he does against the Jets defense, he's going to do it against some of the worst defenses, like Tennessee, who they're playing next. So.
Yeah, New York Jets was actually a tough matchup for running backs, and he produced. And this goes to show that I think there's no running back, like any running back on that team can produce for the Bills. We know James Cook, prior to missing last night's game, he was coming into the week as the RB5. Now, I am so glad that I benched him in some of my leagues because I was very concerned that he wasn't going to play. Now, if he does not play next week, I'm all in on Ray Davis. I actually really, really like Ray Davis because I think he's going to take over the same amount of workload that we saw this past week and produce again next week against Tennessee. And I think the Bills are going to lead for most of the game, hopefully all the game, and they're going to have to rely on the run game, just chewing the clock. So I'm all in on Ray Davis. I like him a lot, and I'm perfectly fine going to pick him up in the waivers. And he's only, 19% owned?
Yeah, 18%. Yep.
Wow. Yeah, I'm all in. I like him a lot. So good pick there, Gary. I'll go with my guy, and this is a guy I think you talked about last week. Was it not?
It is indeed.
It's a guy that's 56% owned, probably going to be over 70% owned after this week, after producing 22.7 points. It's Tyrone Tracy Jr. I said before the season started, Devin Singletary is my breakout guy of the season. Now, he got hurt. Tyrone Tracy comes in and he produces. This goes to show that any running back on that team as well, Tyrone Tracy or Devin Singletary, whoever is the starter is going to be the guy that is going to produce a lot of fantasy points. I think if Singletary plays and he's fully healthy, you go and start Singletary. I think he's no doubt just start him, plug in and play. If he is lingering that injury and he's very questionable and they don't know if it's a game time decision, then I'm worrisome starting Singletary. But if he is out, Tyrone Tracy is a guy that you have to start. I mean, this is a guy that just produces and continues to produce, and I hope he doesn't lose Devin Singletary's workload and takes over Devin Singletary's workload. But I think it might be.
Yes.
I think this might be. I think Tyrone Tracy could lead the backfield very, very soon if he continues to produce like this.
I definitely agree with that. One thing I don't agree on is the fact that I don't agree with the fact that any running back would flourish starting with the Giants because
no, I think so.
Eric Gray's trash. If he started with the Giants, that running game would be terrible. He comes in his first start of the game against the Seahawks, fumbles on the 1. So he's not very good. I don't think that he would be great starting with the Giants, and I wouldn't really have reason to believe that Devin Singletary would be either. But no, I think I think you hit it on the head. I think that Tyrone Tracy is the guy that you should pick up. I mentioned it last week. You're mentioning it now. If he's there, go get him, especially if Singletary continues to miss the remainder of the season. And I wouldn't necessarily be too worried if Devin Singletary does come back, because who knows, A, if he'll be at full capacity, B, if the Giants just want to use Tyrone Tracy more because they like what they see in him more. So definitely a good pick.
I'm loving it. Keith's pick for this week for the running back position, Tyler Algier. Gary, you want to talk about him a little bit? You got anything on him?
I mean, I'm a friend with I have a friend who's a Bijan owner in multiple leagues. So I do have to hear a lot about how Tyler Algier is the biggest pain. Yeah. Believe me, I see it with David Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs. So I totally get it. I'm not the biggest fan of Tyler Algier. I'll be completely honest. I don't think he's that good of a running back. But so far, in the time that he's gotten, he's produced. I believe he just had a pretty solid week, right? What did he have? 18, 19?
So he finished as a top 12 running back. Not only that, he also finished, Bijan also finished as the RB3 of the week. So both players finishing as a top 12 running back, 19.8 fantasy points, over 100 rushing yards. I mean, his yards per carry have been insane when he's had the touches on the ball. I mean, over 5, 7, 4, 5, 7 yards. He had a one dud week where he had 6 touches for 12 yards. Not too good. But overall, I mean, he's a stud. I really like him. People have listened to us in the past. Keith and I used to talk about Tyler Algier all the time. He'd always pop up in almost every show. He just produces. But here's the issue. Bijan's in front of him. My only concern is Tyler Algier is a guy that you're going to maybe start if you're in big need of Tyler Algier to start. But other than that, if you have Bijan or if you have starting running backs, you're not going to start Tyler Algier. You're just going to keep him on the bench. And he's just going to be that Taysom Hill guy where he's going to produce a lot on the bench and you're just never going to start him.
Yeah, that's exactly what I agree with. I think and another reason why I believe that he's been producing so well is because who he has in front of him. You start to see a lot more tandem backs now in the NFL. You saw it a lot when the Browns had Chubb and Hunt. That duo worked out well. You saw it when the Eagles had their trio of running backs with Miles Sanders, who I don't believe is very good. Kenneth Gainwell. No, yeah, they're not great. But that worked out a lot because what opposing defenses have to think is, oh, good, their starting guy got out. Don't have to worry about the running game as much. But these guys who aren't big names are still solid enough to get the job done, so they go for 6 yards a pop. I think that's what we're seeing in Tyler Algier. Like I said, I'm not the biggest fan of him. I don't think he's too good, but so far he's been playing pretty well. So, Bijan owners, sorry, go get Tyler Algier.
Oof. I'm a little worrisome on Tyler Algier. I mean, he's a guy that you can go get, but he's a guy that I'm not going to start right away. I'll just keep seeing on his production.
Sure, I agree with that.
Tyron Tracy Jr., Tyler Algier, Ray Davis, our top running back ads of the week. Let's get into the wide receivers. And, I just want to mention Demario Douglas real quick. He's not a guy I have to talk about another Patriot. Pop Douglas was popping last week. He was doing so great. And, if Drake May continues to find Demario Douglas and he is the top target, it's just going to go to show that I said to everyone, Jalen Polk and Javon Baker was pointless picks. But besides the point, let's move on to this guy that, you just got to add him, right? There's two guys in front of him that obviously right now are hurt. And here's why this guy it needs to be added. He is goose egg, donut percent owned, 0. It's Bub Means. Who the heck is that guy? Well, he's a rookie. That's who he is. That ended up being on the Saints and has a great possible chance to connect with Spencer Rattler. Olave, he's in concussion protocol. He didn't practice on Monday. Shaheed, he also didn't practice on Monday, and he's got a concerning knee injury that might send him on the IR. If he goes on the IR, Bub Means is the wide receiver 2 for the next 3-4 weeks. But if Chris Olave also is out, the wide receiver 1 on the Saints is Bub Means. Who can't hate the name? I can't hate the name. Bub Means, I could be saying that all the time. But I'm all in on Bub Means. I think you got to go pick him up. Another quick shout on Demario Douglas again. He's another guy I don't mind going to get. And I'm not sure. I think Jacoby Myers is over 70% owned. But I know Trey Tucker is another guy that you can go get now that Devontae Adams is gone.
Yeah, I actually like the Bub Means take because what I see in him is just another Rashid Shaheed, to be completely honest with you. He's got that home run. He's got that home run playability. He's not the biggest receiver. So at the same time, I think that whoever is the wide receiver or any of the wide receivers in the Saints organization, as long as they're one of the starting 2, they're a guy that you should probably go get because they throw the ball so much. And it seems that whoever is the quarterback of that offense, doesn't matter, they're going to move the football. So I'm totally fine with this pick. Yeah, you mentioned he's 0% owned, so he's on every single waiver wire. So go get him.
Yeah, he's, especially if you're in deep format leagues, he's definitely a good guy to go get.
Yeah.
Gary, who is your guy?
I picked Michael Wilson. He only had 10 points last week, and he's only 28% roster. But I think the biggest reason is obvious why I picked him. Marvin Harrison Jr. had a big concussion this past game.
You want me to start playing the sad violin for you?
Yeah, I'm really upset about that. Obviously, I'm a big fan of Marv, so his health alone I'm upset with, but I also have him in fantasy, so I'm to be healthy. I think that Michael Wilson is a good pickup because all my Marvin Harrison Jr. owners know he already got work when Marvin Harrison Jr. was in there. He was a guy that went over 10-plus points like 4 weeks. So I think that you could definitely see an uptick in his targets. Could have weeks where he goes for 15 to 20 fantasy points. Kyler just has to be better. I think he will over time. He hasn't looked great these past couple weeks. Michael Wilson, I believe, is going to be the wide receiver 1 with Marvin Harrison Jr. possibly missing time.
Okay. I'm intrigued. The only reason I'm down to go get him in fantasy is if Marvin Harrison has to miss time. Mm-hmm. I think other than that, if Marv is back, I think I don't think you can go pick him up and start him. I think waivers, you go pick him up. But if Marv starts, I think you can drop him right after.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with
that. Real quick, Freezy Fantasy, trade Bijan Robinson, Terry McLaurin, and Jaden Reed for Jamar Gibbs and James Conner. Freezy, please, I hope that someone is trading you Bijan, Terry, and Reed.
Yeah, that's actually
by all means.
I believe that's for Jamar Chase. I believe that is.
Oh, sorry. Did I say Jahmyr Gibbs?
Yeah,
sorry.
Yeah.
Jamar Chase and James Conner. I personally, I'm a Bijan, Terry, Reed side. I'd pick them.
And it's not close for me, actually. I mean, Bijan, even with Algier, he's been producing. He just had 2 touchdowns last week. Terry McLaurin is just looking like a new guy.
He's been doing good.
Which I knew would happen once he got a good quarterback, and it's about time. And I initially this year thought Christian Watson was going to be the wide receiver 1. Got hurt like always, and now he's not the wide receiver 1. Jaden Reed looks like a beast. So I wouldn't even consider taking that deal.
Yeah, I think if you're trying, like if you have running back help and you're just trying to look to get rid of Bijan, I think you can get, I don't know. It depends because I'm all in on Terry and Reed. But if those are like wide receivers 3 and 4, then I think you try and package one of them and a running back and going to get someone, not maybe Jamar Chase because his price might be too high. But what if you go in Bijan and Terry McLaurin or Bijan and Jaden Reed for just Jamar?
Yeah, and I think that you could actually get that deal done with a lesser running back.
Yeah.
Like, to be completely honest with you.
Yeah.
Because I think,
maybe not for Jamar.
I think you could because let's be real. Right now, I mean, with Jordan Love, Jaden Reed has been just as good as Jamar.
Lights out.
Possibly even better. Jamar really didn't pop off till the past couple weeks. And James Conner is solid for sure. He's one of the guys that I always love drafting in fantasy, but he's not eye-popping. I wouldn't take him over Bijan. And then you're just giving away even more of Terry. So I think that you could get that offer done with even a lesser running back. So
what if you got like you went for like a David Montgomery type of guy?
I don't hate that at all. I'm a big Jahmyr Gibbs guy, so personally I don't like David Montgomery, but he's a guy that always produces. So
okay. This is a hot take over here because this is your guy, Marvin Harrison Jr. What if you throw Marvin Harrison Jr. on this trade?
It's tough because obviously we don't know how much time he's going to miss or if he will at all. And if that concussion is a problem going forward. So I don't know. At the same time, besides that 1 week against the Rams, his production's been kind of limited, to be completely honest with you. Kyler doesn't look that great. I'm not happy with Marv's situation right now, so I still wouldn't do it.
Here's the thing. Is this Marvin Harrison instead of Jamar?
Yeah, I don't know.
Because here's the thing. If it's like Bijan and Marvin Harrison for Jamar and James Conner, I think I would do it.
So are you saying that's what I'm saying. Is it a 3 for 3 or is it like
is Marvin on your side or his side? We'll find out. We'll quickly talk about Keith's pick though in Josh Downs. Josh Downs has looked like a beast. He's gotten 30 targets in 3 straight, like in all 3 weeks, he's got a combined of 30 targets, 22 points, 15 points, 19 fantasy points. He's finished as a top 20 wide receiver in those past 3 weeks. I think I'm down for it. I mean, I'm all in on Josh Downs. I like him a lot, and I don't mind, especially if Michael Pittman has to miss time. They're talking about putting him on IR again. And if he has to go on IR, Josh Downs is a guy that you got to go pick up. He's 68% owned, should be well over 70% owned, I think, after this week, especially if Michael Pittman goes on the IR, he'll be over 80% owned.
I like it because no matter which quarterback starting for Indianapolis, they both have rocket arms, and that's what Josh Downs is there for. He's the home run guy, and he gets one like every week. So both Joe Flacco and Anthony Richardson have rocket arms. They're going to be looking for that big play week after week. So I don't think that you can miss with Josh Downs. Definitely go out and get him if he's on your waiver wire.
Yeah. Bub means Josh Downs and Michael Wilson, our top waiver wire ads of the week for the wide receiver position. Now, before we jump back to Freezy's thing, I just want to point out one quick thing. Jacoby Myers is 69% owned. He is not talked about in this pod, but I do want to mention that he needs to be well over 70% owned now. He's gotten 28 targets in 3 straight weeks combined. I like him. He's going against Pittsburgh. It's going to be a tough match, but I think there's no doubt that you have to go get him. I think he's the wide receiver 1 there. Trey Tucker got a goose egg, didn't even get a single catch. If you're going for anyone, Brock Bowers and Jacoby Myers are the top two guys that you have to have on that Raiders team.
I definitely agree with that, and I'm gonna put maybe some Pats fans on blast. Listen, when I said that move,
listen.
I said that move. Maybe you didn't. Maybe you agree with me. I don't know. I don't know if I've ever said this to you.
I think
taking Juju for that same amount of money as the Raiders gave to Jacoby Myers was the dumbest thing they could have done. It made no sense.
No,
Jacoby
it doesn't.
Myers is by far and clear the better wide receiver. It made absolutely no sense to me. I couldn't believe that, you see Jacoby Myers get signed for however many millions he got. And then the next week you see Juju get the same deal. It made absolutely no sense to me. But yeah, I just had to throw that in there. I love Jacoby Myers too. I'm a good fan. I'm a big fan of his.
No, I'm upset because I was all in on Jacoby Myers. I actually liked Jacoby Myers. So, but Patriots can be the Patriots. Maybe sell the team. I don't know. Yeah, they would never. Robert Kraft would never. So back to this real quick. It would be Bijan, Terry, Reed for Jamar, James Conner, and Marvin Harrison. Personally, I think the names are going to be just the bigger, higher price tag for Jamar and MHJ. I'm just down to keep Bijan, Terry, and Reed. He wants to know that trade, though, or J.K. Dobbins for Brian Robinson, Darnell Mooney. I'm slam dunking this. I like Brian Robinson, and I know Darnell Mooney didn't have a great week, but I'm all in because you're getting a solid running back in Brian Robinson, who's in a high-powered offense right now with Jaden Daniels. But you also have Terry McLaurin and Jaden Reed. So Darnell Mooney is just going to be your wide receiver 3 or flex.
Now we're talking.
So I'm perfectly fine with this. I would just I know Keith would probably go with JK's side, but he does like Brian Robinson too. But I think that JK is just not that great. He produces here and there, but I'd rather have the Robinson and Mooney side.
Well, I love Dobbins, obviously, and I think that for however long he's healthy, he's going to stay producing over that long, however that span is. I don't know. But I think that this trade is easily won if you're getting Brian Robinson Jr. and Mooney.
Yep.
That first trade, I think I would rather stick with Bijan, Terry, and Reed. If it was 3 for 3, then I wouldn't be upset with you taking that Jamar and James Conner and Harrison side. But I think that this is definitely a trade where I would pull the trigger if I'm getting Brian Robinson and Mooney.
Yeah, for sure. Let's get into the tight ends. We'll start with your guy. We've mentioned him multiple times on the podcast. Who is your guy for the tight end position?
My guy is Colby Parkinson. I definitely have talked about him. I think Keith talked about him. He's coming off a bye week. The Rams are coming off a bye week. He's only 23% rostered. The biggest reason why I want to keep talking about him is because we're finally seeing that production, or at least the opportunities for production. The past 2 games, he's had 20 combined targets. And I think that if Kupp doesn't come back this week, which I personally don't believe he will, those targets are still going to go to him, I think, because Stafford finally understands that he needs a security blanket because he's currently throwing to all these workers. So I think Colby Parkinson is going to be that guy that gets all those targets. And like I said, we saw it the past 2 weeks because he's got 20 combined targets. So I would go out and get him if you need to stream a tight end because he's never a bad option. The upside is there. Like I said, if Cooper Kupp doesn't end up playing. So, yeah.
Yeah, I'll chip in with the stream option for Parkinson. I've been adding Parkinson wherever I need to if I just need a plug-in and play type of tight end. These tight ends are brutal. I mean, you really don't know what you're going to get out of some of these guys. But if you have like someone who's going to struggle or who's struggling or they're out, you just gotta go down to the waiver store, go get yourself a tight end, and you're just gonna pray and hope that you hit on the guy that you pick up. Yeah. So I've been doing that a couple times with Colby Parkinson. Of course, week 5, I did it with I think 1 or 2 of my leagues, and it paid off. I mean, he didn't score that much, but he was a tight end 10 still. Mm-hmm. So you can't go wrong if they're scoring over 7, 8 points. Right. I mean, you really can't. My guy is Hunter Henry, another Patriot. The reason why is just he's my favorite streaming option of the week for tight ends because of the fact that he has a very favorable matchup against the Jacksonville Jaguars, who we saw Evan Ingram back, just mentioned real quick since we're on the tight ends. Jacksonville, the only guy that could catch a ball was Evan Ingram, by the way.
I love it. I love it so much.
10 targets, 10 receptions. I was just watching. I was like, yo, who caught that? Oh, it's Evan Ingram. Yo, who caught? Oh, it's still Evan Ingram. I said, damn. And then that one time where 3 receivers couldn't catch a ball in the end zone, oh my goodness, it was brutal to watch sometimes. But Hunter Henry, he's got a favorable matchup against the Jacksonville defense that was nowhere to be seen in London this past week. He is currently the tight end 11 right now. Yeah, he's a top 12 tight end. Shocking, I know. But he could be the continuing check down option for Drake May, and you might see him go in the end zone in this upcoming weeks.
Yeah, I actually like this option a lot. I think that, we say it with all these quarterbacks, they need a security blanket. All the young ones do. I think that Drake May is going to find a big target in Hunter Henry. I don't think it's going to be Austin Hooper. He doesn't really get the same snap percentage, and I don't think he's as good as Hunter Henry is. It'll be Hunter Henry, in my opinion. I think that he definitely could be destined for a big week this upcoming week. Yeah. We saw him already have a big random week where he had like 10 catches for 97 yards or whatever it was. So look for him to possibly do something like that again. I love it. One guy I want to shout out, taking a page out of your book, TJ Hawkinson.
Oh, he's back. Is he back?
Exactly. Yeah, he definitely could be playing this week.
I'm so hyped.
He's 72% owned, so I can't, pick him as one of my guys. But if he is on your waiver wire, you need to get him. Because I'm not saying that he's going to return to tight end 1 status, but with the way the season has been this year, he's easily going to be a top 5 to 7 tight end. So you need to go get him.
For anyone who's in any of my leagues, in the drafts, if you're going to the waiver store to go get Hawkinson, don't worry, he's already been taken by me.
Yeah, right, exactly.
Because I've grabbed him in every single draft I possibly could. In the very late rounds. And then just before the season started, he was climbing up the ladder. And I was like, come on, guys. Why are you guys drafting him so high up? Yeah. But yeah, he's a really good shout because he's been on my IR forever. And I completely forgot that it's week 7. He's now eligible to come back. And I'm so hyped. I'm so hyped because I'm all in on Hawkinson to come back and produce. And it's just another weapon for the Vikings too.
I'm actually going to throw in the fact that yesterday it was reported that he was seen practicing.
Oh my goodness. It's Hawkinson season, ladies and gentlemen.
It is Hawkinson season. Let's go.
I'm so excited. Quickly, Kate Otten is Keith's tight end of the week. He's produced 9+ fantasy points in 3 of the last 4 weeks, 6+ targets in those 3 of the last 4 weeks. It's not a bad shout from Keith, but let's just be real. This guy's just on every podcast. We talk about him every single show.
Yeah, and I mean, it's tough not to because I feel like he's like the average of the average. Like if you got 30 tight ends that you're talking about, he's probably somewhere in there at 15. So he's a guy that could get you probably what you want, 7 to 8 points a week. But I think there's a very small chance that he goes over that.
He's got a very favorable matchups the next 3 weeks. Baltimore, Atlanta, Kansas City. Very favorable for the tight end position. So be on the lookout, I guess, for Kate Otten and TJ Hawkinson and Hunter Henry and, of course, Kobe Parkinson, our top tight end waiver wire ads of the week. And, of course, Gary's favorite drop. Let's go into Thursday Night Football predictions. The Broncos and the Saints. Let's recap the predictions, the overalls. And like I said, if Gary takes the over, or the under, you got to take the opposite. Gary, you are currently sitting 0-6 in the over-unders. Come on. Please, 1 week. 1 week. You got to get it right 1 week, right?
Well, if you are watching this right now, look at me. I'm talking directly to you. If you are watching this, listen to me right now. I have the over hitting this game. So you better put your entire bank account on the under. I promise you right now, this is a free money hack. Please, if you are a sports bettor, put money on the under. because I am taking the Broncos to win 23-20, hitting the over by a few points.
Oh, my goodness. It's Bo Nix season, right? The
Yes,
Cortland
sir.
Sutton, the connection.
Sure.
I like the 23-20 by the Broncos. Keith has the 20-17 Saints, and he's got the under. So if it is the Broncos and if it is the over, Gary, you got 2 extra wins, and you're sneaking right behind Keith, who's currently 9-3. The guy just suffered his first loss for record predictions. Over unders, he's 4-2. But it's just unreal. The guy just cannot stop winning.
Yeah, and the thing, my philosophy is, as long as I'm splitting, I'm like keeping it a close race, right? Because like at least I'm not losing the total amount of points that I can. And maybe there's a week I've yet to go 2-0, but maybe in the near future I do go 2-0, and I'm by fully fading Keith, I go up 2 points and make it a somewhat closer race. So we'll see. Maybe I can make some magic happen.
Keith didn't have time, but I tried getting him to send me a little 10-second clip of him telling you to pick the right team and pick the right over and under. He had too much work today, so unfortunately he wasn't able to be with us. But I tried getting him to send a quick 10-second clip. I thought it would have been the funniest thing ever.
That was so funny.
But Broncos and Saints have an over-under of 37.5 points. And of course, Gary did take the over, which means I must take one option in the under. But with an over-under of 37.5, there's no possible way I can do that. I'm taking the Saints 20-19, and I'm taking the over. Give me the over.
Yeah, it's like, right, because you think that would be like a first half line. Like, honestly, like 37.5, that's kind of crazy. Especially with the fact that I don't know if his injury is going to linger. The Broncos lost Pat Surtain last week, who is the biggest piece of that defense.
Yep.
And they let up like 23 points to the Chargers in like 2.5 quarters. So I think the Saints, who swing the ball around like crazy, no matter who is the quarterback, we already talked about it, they could get this over. I mean, I don't really see it being a problem.
Yeah, I mean, hopefully it's the Saints. Hopefully it is the over just for Gary's sake to get a win on the over-under. If it is under, Gary, I don't know what to say. I really don't know. I don't know. But before we go and end this show, we have one more quick question in the comments. Spencer Haynes saying, do you think Aaron Rodgers is a must-add? I traded Lamar last week for Breece Hall and Chase Brown, and I have Kyler. Do you think Rodgers will be better if he's available in waivers? Well, Spencer, I have one little thing. If you missed it earlier in the show, the QB waiver wire ads of the week, right down here on the bottom. Drake made for me, Matthew Stafford for Keith, and of course, Gary has Aaron Rodgers. So definitely, if you're looking for a quarterback and you want to go pick one up, Aaron Rodgers is definitely a guy that you can trust, especially with Devontae Adams coming back. But trading Lamar for Breece Hall and Chase Brown, I love that trade. I'm all in. I'm all in for it. Maybe Gary doesn't like it because Lamar has produced very well, but I like Breece Hall and I like Chase Brown, and I think they're solid RB1s.
I definitely like them both. I'm kind of 50-50 on that trade. It's okay for me.
So you mean it's a fair trade, right?
Yeah. I don't hate either side. But what I'm thinking is, you said that you traded Lamar and you have K1, so you had 2 quarterbacks in the past. Now you have just the one.
Yeah.
Why not pick up Aaron Rodgers? It doesn't really matter if he does better than Kyler or not, because you have that free spot available. So I think that no matter what, you should go get him, and he definitely could be better than Kyler. So yeah,
he could be better than Kyler. Here's my only concern: if this is one quarterback league, I only stick to one quarterback on my roster. Now Kyler has kind of been hot and cold this season, so that's my only concern. But I'd rather stick with Kyler and just go with it. He does have Joe Mixon and CMC who are injured, but I mean, that honestly, if CMC comes back, I would personally trade CMC. I would trade him.
Don't hate that.
If he does come back. So
yeah, I don't hate that. But fellow Joe Mixon owner, love Joe Mixon. He's a complete beast.
Yeah.
So I don't understand why he keeps falling in drafts year after year.
Yeah, he's actually been doing really good though when he's healthy.
Yeah,
I'll give you that. That's going to do it for this week's show. Once again, if you haven't done so already, use that code SportsTimeHQ on Underdog Fantasy. They're going to match your first deposit up to $100. And if you're looking to still get a trophy, ring, or belt through Trophy Smack and for your fantasy leagues, of course, basketball season's back, hockey's back. Gary, who's winning for basketball?
The entire thing?
Yeah.
Nobody but the Celtics. Give me the Fields.
Oh my God. Celtics, they're going to win it all. TrophySmack.com/SportsTimeHQ. Go use that link and go and get yourself a nice trophy, ring, or bill. Or if you want to donate to Gary's terrible over-under predictions for Thursday Night Football, by all means,
change this week.
Go do that. It might change this week. He might get his first win. But again, this was the Week 6 Waiver Wire targets and Thursday Night Football predictions. I'm your host, Fernando. Joining me today was my great co-host, Gary. Go follow him all over Sports Time, all over social media at GD Picks. And, of course, myself at Sports Time HQ. And, of course, Keith wasn't here this week. He should be back next week. But go follow him all over social media at SwampDonkey_90. If you want to know where we are, well, you can go catch us after the show on Spotify, on Apple Podcasts, and go listen to us after the show if it's not on YouTube. We're here live every week on Tuesdays at 12 p.m. Eastern here on YouTube.